to welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. It's been a little while since I talked to this guy getting away to Asia. He's out on a golf course, and as the weather has turned here now, he has turned his attention from Compass Point Golf over, of course, to basketball season, where Coppin and UMBC played over the weekend, and the Terps lost to Penn State, and the sky is falling, and all of that. We're into holiday talk now, Robert Canady, and there's going to be some weird basketball, some awkward off times, but I don't know that anybody saw that Terps loss to Penn State coming, did they?
I don't think so. It's funny. We talked about that beforehand. How well they were playing, and they would just have to avoid stumbling and stubbing their toe, so to speak. And that's exactly what they did. The two things that they've been playing around all year, getting behind early and turnovers and poor shooting. All three came to roost in that game. And I think for the very first time, and this would be something to watch, especially they get into playing the Big Ten regularly, against Ohio State and those teams, there's not as deep up front as they have been in the past. They've got Jalen Smith, but I think last year the duo of him and Bruno Fernando and everything was quite a lot to deal with, and they showed some lack of depth at the front line against Penn State's two big guys. So that'll be something to watch as they get into the conference season as well.
Well, I talked to you last year about Penn State, and I remember talking to Dick Girardi, and I'm going to chase down Dick, who does the color commentary in the games, one of my great Baltimore friends and horse racing legends, that Penn State being a football school and why couldn't it get better, and I think we saw improvement from Penn State last year, enough for us to talk about them as, well, they're not Rutgers, you know what I mean? They're not woebegone. They may get up and actually crawl at some point. You just hoped it wasn't against you at the Bryce Jordan Center. But more than that, all the Big Ten teams have struggled on the road here early, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's not been just Maryland, Ohio State and Michigan, both go down recently, and Michigan a couple in a row after being, I think winning their first 7 or 8 in a row. They've lost, I think, 3 or 4. So, they throw those conference games in among all the playing the, smaller mid-major teams and everything, and you wonder, if that has an effect versus, with some of the players, being as young as some of them are, coming off relatively easy games, and then all of a sudden being faced with someone who's your equal or better, or that you're, as big as you and as strong as you and as fast as you. So there might be something to that, playing these conference games earlier in the season than they have in the past, where they're not, we'll be seeing that in the next about 2 weeks or so. They'll get together regularly for that. So, Maryland was not the only one this week to take a tumble of the top 5 teams.
Well, not only that, Penn State's now ranked, right? And it was very clear Penn State didn't have the usual little point guard they have and the one big guy in the middle. They had 5 guys that could play. And we're going to see a lot of that with Ohio State, Michigan, and Iowa. I mean, all of these teams have proven themselves to be big and formidable. Everything you knew about the Big Ten before you joined the conference, right?
Yeah, even Seton Hall coming up later this week. They're ranked. So that's Penn State wasn't. So that's going to be. They're going to have to get ready right away for that. They've had the week off, I think, for exams and everything, but they have that one. Another big one coming up before they finish out the non-conference with Bryant. Which they should handle easily. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back against Seton Hall with that week off.
For the other local schools, Robert Canady, of course, can be followed at Buckets and Birds out on Twitter, and as always down at Compass Point, hitting a little white dimple ball, and I know we're on a little bit of hiatus as the snow fell on Monday, but Coppin State getting together with UMBC. We talk so much about these local schools and local games and where Towson is and where Morgan is on the food chain of all of this stuff, and an emerging, improving Coppin team. Coppin had a chance to get down to UMBC on Sunday. UMBC held up, and I think we should not be shocked that UMBC might be the class of the local teams here this year, right?
It's tough to say. I'm going to waver on that right now and say I think Towson is. UMBC has to get healthy, and that's the one thing they've not been this year. They've missed some pretty major pieces, with Lamar and R.J. Idlerock, who finally got back in to play against Coppin, and you could tell right away that was a big missing piece they've had, the starting point guard. So Towson is, Towson beat them. They played head-to-head last week, and Towson beat them by 7 or so. So they've got the heads up on that, and I think Towson's got, they've been healthier, and I think they're a deeper team. But it will be interesting to see what UMBC looks like when they do get all their pieces back together. I mean, they've been literally putting together a patchwork offense, our team, pretty much all season. So I know Ryan's definitely looking forward to getting them healthy and getting ready for the conference season. But I like to look at Towson right now. I think UMBC will be there eventually, especially in that conference. But I like what I've seen from Towson this season.
Well, some would say Towson has been tested as much as Maryland, right? I mean, going down to Florida and playing Xavier. They played Florida very tough, not so much against Xavier. And certainly the 38 against Vermont stands out as something very, very strange, right?
Well, that was a really rough week for them. Pat isn't one to make excuses, but they'd gone all the way up to Cornell and had the game canceled, due to some weather. The referees couldn't get to it, so they basically made a trip up there for nothing, and turned around and came back. And then again, they had travel issues going up to Vermont, where they were stuck for hours and hours, and they literally got in, I think, 45 minutes to an hour before tip-off. So that's not ideal, but that happens when you're at this level and you're not always flying chartered and everything. You're playing in these colder climates in December.
Burlington, Vermont's tough to get to even when you want to go there.
You're right. Even in the summer, it's not easy to get to. So that probably had a little bit to do with it. They were tired. They'd come off, I think, playing 6 games in 12 days or so, just like a lot of the teams had. I think Maryland had done something simple. They crammed them all in before a lot of them have finals exams this week and everything. So, I just looked at it a little. We know Vermont's a good team. I mean, they perennially are, challenging for that league. They're them and UMBC, in the America East every year. So, and they've got a Player of the Year candidate on their team. So, I mean, the 38 points doesn't look good, but I think might have just been kind of a abnormal bump in the road. And they've got a chance to get back this coming weekend. They play down in D.C. at the new sports arena that has been built down there, where I think the Mystics play, and they'll play a couple tournament games there, which will be nice because that's where the CAA tournament's going to be coming in March. So they'll get actually a little preview to what it's like to play in that building.
Robert Canady joining us here from Compass Point Golf, and of course always there at Buckets and Birds out on Twitter, following all things college basketball. A little slow here for a week with a bunch of the teams getting a game in this week, a game in next week, and then we really, really ramp things up a week and a half from now. As much as the Ravens will have a little time off in early January, college basketball will not have that. Obviously, we're the voice of Coppin State. We run their games here. We're a flagship. To see them start to win some games. They won a game against Cornell at home before Towson went up there and got stranded. They won a game down at James Madison. They won a game at East Carolina. I would think Juan's got to be a little bit bullish going into the MEAC here. Morgan looks to be struggling as well. They're going to play some games out in California next week as well. Coppin's been a better team this year.
Yeah, by far. And like you said, you reeled off who they win. It's not just like they got 4 wins against equal or less opponents. I mean, those are 4 pretty good wins that they picked up, and then of course they played the bigger teams, as well, the Davidsons and the I think Virginia Tech earlier in the year. But then they've got a big one against University of Miami, I think, coming up this week as well. So. Juan is has really done well with that team, and they got down big early to UMBC, and pretty much outplayed UMBC in the second half. And UMBC just had a large enough lead where they were able to maintain it and everything, and it got kind of got close and feisty, and so in that building in the second half, it was a pretty good environment. It was a great crowd, with both local schools and everything. So. That was a good test for them, and I think I definitely look for them to do well in the MEAC.
You having withdrawal from the whole golf thing? I mean, you start to see the white powdered stuff start to fly, and it's all wet and sloppy and soupy. Is this where you work on your virtual game, Rob?
Yeah, and I watched a lot of the President's Cup over the weekend, seeing them play down there in Australia and everything. So that kind of helped,
I saw Tiger Woods singing songs on a bus, so therefore I know things went well, right?
Yeah, they did. They had their own comeback victory and everything. Well, you were probably flying back from the other side of the world. They were playing down under and did pretty well, and it was it's not the Ryder Cup, but it's still international matches, which is fun to watch.
Well,
So,
it's golf in
but yeah.
early December, right? It's something that's hard to play. It might be a better time to watch, and certainly we talk about the majors being all chunked into the beginning of the year. Just to have Tiger Woods and the American team show up all over my timeline for 3 days on a football weekend when the Ravens play on Thursday night, I mean, that says something for golf in December. You guys got the Snowman Scramble Series coming up. I know you got some stuff happening down at Compass Point, as well as the gift shop, and it's the holidays and all that good stuff for people that love golf. Give me a little primer on what's going on at Compass Point this December.
Yeah, like you said, we're open every day with even if there was snow on the ground, and everything is like we've had a little bit recently. But the Pro Shop is open to come in and buy some gift cards. Make great gifts that whoever you want to give them to can use them during the spring and summer when weather is better. We've got some nice sales going on some merchandise and apparel in there. We got some nice winter apparel, grab to still go out and play. And then the new this year, we're doing our Snowman Scramble Series. So, in early January and early February, we'll have a couple events, that we may be serving hot chocolate instead of craft beer.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I'm getting cold just looking at the Snowman Scramble Series logo here. It's got snow involved.
That's something new. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky and get one of these mild days where it's not too bad. But if it's cold, they'll still bundle up and we'll still go out and we'll play and have a good time regardless.
Well, that Saturday, January the 4th, I could kid you and say I know the Redskins aren't playing that day either, but the Ravens won't be playing that day. So if you're looking for something on the bye weekend to do, maybe we can crank it up to 54 degrees that day and get out there and hit it, right?
Yeah, perfect. You would think maybe we almost planned it for that Saturday, right? Looking at schedules.
Well, the Bills will be playing, but not the rest of us. So we'll be watching that. Robert Canady can be followed at Buckets and Birds out on Twitter. He can be found down at Compass Point Golf, recuperating and getting ready for 2020, and probably watching a little bit of the Terps and Seton Hall, amongst others, this week in Bryant. We'll get ready for Big Ten action in all things college basketball. Robert, I look forward to talking to you during Christmas week and during New Year's as we get up through the holiday and get into some serious hoop season, because I know you're getting ready for all that. Appreciate you, my man.
Sounds good. We'll talk to you then, Nestor.
Robert Canady, Buckets and Birds, the way to follow him out on Twitter and at Compass Point Golf. I got my Compass Point hat on. I was wearing my Liberty Pure Solutions hat. I should have had my Liberty Pure Solutions jug of water to be drinking from. Going to be learning about all of our sponsors around here. A lot of great new sponsors for 2020. Our friends at Royal Farms have been with us for 18 years now. Our friends at Toyota have been with us for 22 years. So big thanks to everybody out in the buy at Toyota.com. Audio Vault, it's where we put all of these great conversations that we have with Bob Glauber and all the Cleveland media getting ready for the Browns game this week, as well as some college basketball. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Yes, I'm putting together all things Super Bowl planning for South Florida and Miami. You can email me, get on the interest list. I'm putting all the information up this week to get you ready for the holiday and hopefully the big clinch this week in Cleveland. Luke's on the backfields out in Owings Mills all week long. Any breaking news like Terrell Suggs to the Chiefs? You get that first on the WNST text service. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5. Speaking of golf, Dennis loves golf too. He might be out there for the Snowman Series. Nasty at WNST.net is the best way to find me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking golf, college basketball, and Lamar Mania.